Welcome back, Iron investors, to another epic episode, ICN Talks, your favorite crypto podcast where we aim to interview C-level executives, founders, real builder in the space. We receive a lot of messages from you guys to have someone from the NFT market. And today we have a very special guest joining us from the heart of art in the UAE. She's the very first NFT artist in the UAE. And please welcome Amrita Sethi. Thank you very much for coming.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This place is fabulous and look forward to having our chat today.
Yes, I'm super grateful you come here today because I have so many questions and I want to discover your success and more than that, your story because you
With
have a
pleasure.
beautiful story behind your success.
Thank you so much.
So just kick things off. Tell me a little bit about you as I know you have a background as a banker, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what does a banker in the NFT art space?
Yeah, I mean, why is a banker in the NFT art space? I totally agree with the confusion in the question. So I'm obviously I'm an artist and I'm the first NFT artist, as you said, but I didn't start my journey like that. I started as a banker and I did almost 13 to 15 years in the banking space, but worked across all aspects from private banking to insurance. And actually, at some point, I was also doing art, private client art insurance as well. And so, what I wanted to do was get back to I would say, my real calling as who I really was. Because while I said I started as a banker and became an artist, I think I was always born an artist.
Awesome.
And when when you're young, and when you're young and you have hobbies and passions and you're at school and you really follow those, you always think, oh well, that's just a hobby and a passion. And I was always I would say, very passionate about art. In fact, I wanted to originally become an architect. And then weirdly, I fell in love with economics. It's a very weird thing to fall in love with, but I also became equally passionate about that. But I'm a really big believer in the fact that everything happens for a reason. And as we go through our journey in life, is that, we are literally the sum of all of our experiences. I would say just a little bit like we are AI machines and we put in all these experiences that then become who we are. And in fact, I don't think I would have become an NFT artist if I hadn't gone through having this amazing experience in the banking, the financial world, and now combining it with my passion for art.
There has always been like an internal call there, right? Like something, it was like you were doing, I'm assuming, pretty well in banking too, but
Yeah.
it was something that you felt that is not really you, right? It's not 100%. Something has to be
Yeah,
changed.
it's so true. It's one of those things that I think that, and we all have our inner voice. But I think a lot of the time in life is that we get stuck in life. And so whether you finish university, you go for a job, and then you get in that rat race of either in the corporate world, or if you go and, maybe if you're an entrepreneur, it's different. But like I went into the the corporate world and you're just running at 1,000,000 miles per hour. And you don't actually, when do we really take time to just sit quietly and kind of go inward and listen to our inner voice, right? And I think that a lot of the time we have the calling, but because we're being so distracted elsewhere, that we're not taking the time to actually really listen to our authentic selves.
Sometimes you don't even hear that call.
Exactly.
It's just is somewhere there, something there, but it's very hard to pay attention to that particular detail, right?
You've hit the nail on the head, and that's exactly what happened. So, I got into the corporate world and I was, as you said, very successful as a banker, and I'm very grateful and I love my, it wasn't like I was fed up of that world and finance. In fact, I really still loved it. But, you quit your corporate job and then you have a time, right, where you say, I'm just going to give myself like 1 or 2 months to just take a breather before I start my next endeavor. And it was in that time that I went inward and I went quiet and I went still. And then the calling comes out.
Yeah.
And then that's actually how I then created my concept, my original art concept, which the minute I created it, I just knew instinctively that nobody had actually created this before, and this was something that I know I had to develop further.
Yeah, and is this part where you actually start doing what you love,
Yeah.
and then you say like internal conversation, right? Like why I've been waiting so long? Like it's like you cannot imagine your life further without being yourself 100%
Yeah,
all the
I mean, I
time.
think what I would say with that is when I think that when you sometimes find that inner calling and you start to act on it, the universe really just opens up. It's like, when there's things in your life where you're chasing and it's just not working, but then all of a sudden something happens and then just the flow opens up, right? And everything, all the rivers start to go and you're focused and the energy starts to just work. Like, even if you don't even mean it to work, it's just kind of like rolling. And I think that's kind of what ended up happening. I wasn't like, oh, this is my calling. It was, okay, I created this. I created my artwork first, which I called voice note art. Now I've called it sound bites. So where I capture a word and I capture the shape and structure of the sound wave.
We are going to
And then all of that I kind of grow. But the minute I found that, all of a sudden, without even saying, okay, this is my next step, that's my next step, it just, this happened, that happened, that happened. And I was like,
it felt good,
and it just felt
Yeah.
so good. I felt so excited. It didn't feel like work. And there were other aspects of my life at the time that just weren't going my way, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And I felt I was chasing things. But then all of a sudden this happened. And what it showed me is that when you really listen to the universe, if you believe in all of that, and you listen to, I think, maybe your inner calling, that the world just actually opens up and the steps just become available to you.
Takes a lot of courage though, because we talk now in a very back end of things, right?
Yeah.
The fact is, things are not so black and white. It's not like, oh, I'm not happy, I have to do this, and you know exactly. And it's not really that black and white. It's like, what's going on? I don't know. It's good, but it's not. Everything is okay, but it's not. So is this always patchy environment in your head? Is something that you don't feel exactly as you're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I'm touching this a little bit and this, and you see that, okay, it gives you a totally different vibration, energy, excitement, different fulfillment. And then you see, okay, that's it, because I don't know, the level of who I am here is just totally different, right? So
I think you're 100%. I
of-
think, a lot of the time it's just, it takes two things really. I think you hit it first on the head. Is just the courage to, first of all, well, three things. The first of it is just to connect to yourself, right? The second thing is having the courage to remain committed to that, right? So to be like, okay, I'm going to see where this goes, because sometimes people listen to it, but then they get so scared because maybe it's something like, in my case, it was so opposite to where I had been. And you actually just have to have the courage to be like, look, I'm just going to see where this goes. Like when I first got into my art, I still kept up my financial advisory because I thought, is this just a momentary thing? But you still had to have the courage to, I would say, keep going. And then the third thing is really to make sure you block out the naysayers or block out other people's voices. Because also when you change, the people around you, maybe they're not ready for you to change because maybe that disrupts it in them. Maybe you don't even realize you're subconsciously triggering an internal calling within themselves where they're like, actually, I would like to do something like that. And, and they get very uncomfortable and they're like, no, that you can't do this, or, so what I ended up doing is actually just going while I went quiet, I just went into stealth mode. I said, look, I'm just going to really feel where this journey takes me. I don't want to tell too many people. This was right at the beginning. I do believe you have to seek people's advice, so don't get me wrong. But at the beginning, when I was just, I would say, manifesting, I'm like, I'm not going to listen to too many people to say, don't do this, because it was so wildly different to what I was doing that I just had to be like, you know what, let me just connect and see where this goes. And I think the most important thing is if you do find your calling, a lot of the time it's fun. So enjoy that moment. And, you know, you don't need to always let too many voices in.
And look at you right now. I'm looking at you, and you have this with the stamp, the first NFT artist in the UAE. How cool is that?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
tell me a little bit more about that around that days, like how it was.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was a very organic experience. Again, it was definitely, if I'd written it down on a piece of paper, it was like a movie that I would never even know how to script, right? And so, you know, obviously first I created my art genre. So this is all before NFT. So just becoming an artist and connecting it. So I created my art genre. And then I realized I've got something unique here. So let me go and, I don't know, copyright it. And again, when I started to tell one or two people, they started laughing and be like, nobody cares about your silly art idea, Amrita. Like, why do you need to copyright it? And I was like, no, I really think that I've done something unique. And I wanted to copyright it, not so much to just only hold my information, but I wanted to prove to myself that I actually had created something that I don't think anybody had done before. And so so then that was that. And then I got very quickly, because it was such a new concept. People started, the minute I showed it, people started getting really excited about it. And within 5 minutes of me showing it back in 2019, the next thing I know, I'm at Art Dubai in 2019 with, at the time, Oman Insurance was sponsors. And they were like, can you do an activation with your art? And so my art's all based on sound, right? And so I say a word and I capture the shape and structure of the sound wave. And then each of the lines I draw to match the meaning of the word. And so it's very dynamic. So
unique.
Yeah, and very unique. It's like,
unique.
And if you think about it, before AI, like if you think about it, it's before. Now, my concept of my sound bites is, instead of a picture's worth 1,000 words, a word is worth 1,000 pictures. And right, so before AI, before all of this, so a word, so whether it's, you know, your name, Danny, Amrita, or Dubai, or future NFT Dubai, whatever that word is, there's lots of images that come to people's minds, right? And even if I say the word Dubai, my experience of Dubai and the images will come up different to what you would come up. And so and then I did it in the shape of the structure of the sound wave. And so I already had kind of created, like, you know, a bit of a nod to AI in itself without even realizing it. And I only realized it anyway in the last couple of years. But then also I kind of created the first voice generative art without me even realizing that that's what it was. Because we went to Art Dubai in 2019 and I had, you know, an interactive stand where people could come, say their names like into a microphone. It would capture on the screen and we would get a new sound wave. And then I would have a kind of algorithm where we would take the same elements of Dubai and then reorganize it in their name, in their sound wave. And so I was literally voice generating art in real time as an art installation back in 2019.
Even now it's mind-blowing, but imagine 2019 when like NFT, it was just, I don't know, maybe 0.1% in the world they got in touch with NFT.
No, but at
the world level, like you say NFT, what's NFT? No one knows what NFT, right?
Exactly. But I think at that time, I hadn't discovered NFTs yet. So I was just, my art was in itself just very unique and interesting. And that catapulted me. And then I got chosen for Expo 2020 towards the end of 2019. And they wanted me to build these massive sculptures coming out of the ground of these, you know, these big sound bites and these voice note art. So that was super exciting. But then we all know what happened in 2020. COVID hit. And obviously, you know, the budgets for that changed. And obviously they weren't going to then build these physical ones. But I said to myself, well, I mean, I've got some time. How do I get this algorithm a bit better? You know, how I can do all of this. And so remember, I'm a banker at this point in time. I've now dabbled a bit in art. I don't know any tech.
To plug in
tech.
The other skills.
So now I'm like, okay, now I realize I need some tech knowledge to figure out how I can really make this into a very cool. Well, at the time I didn't know it was called generative art, but obviously that's what it is, like a generative art thing. And then I was like interviewing, like, you know, in lockdown, I was talking to random developers in, you know, Romania or all of these different kind of countries. And my husband would be like, who are you talking to? I was like, and he was, and what are you talking about? And I was like, it's okay. I'm just experimenting something. It's okay. And then I actually created this kind of voice generative art. And I thought, okay, well, I now need a front-facing system. And I got then introduced to Jawad Ashraf, who's the CEO of, at the time, Terra Virtua, and now he's the CEO of Vayner. He's opening up his own blockchain. And he was just like, look, you know, he saw my stuff. He's like, look, let's just put the voice generative art thing away for a minute. Because obviously at the time it was he's like, I'm just going to teach you about NFTs, because the medium of NFTs is going to allow your art, which is all based on sound, dynamic, that is digital, that's got an amazing story, is going to bring it to life. And, you know, you can imagine back then when he was talking blockchain, any other, I would say, normal artist, not normal, but you know what I mean? Like somebody who had only studied art. I was familiar with the concept of blockchain because I'd been learning a little about that in my finance world. And I just understood it really quickly. And I think that's what, for me, was that beautiful intersection between, you know, art, finance, and now tech. And I was thinking, well, this could be something new and unique.
Of course, behind any success, and massive success, I could say, in your experience, it's a matter of right timing. Because you've been exactly at the right timing, right before the last bull, with where NFTs were actually one of the main horse of the last bull, right? Like just literally exploded the entire market.
Yeah, completely.
But coming back here in the region, we all know that UAE is well known for its rich cultural heritage, right? How that worked? Like how did you find matching spots to incorporate all your...
I completely agree with you in terms of right time and right place. I would say I was kind of still a little bit early because obviously, you know, as you said, you know, when I first, you know, started talking about it, obviously I didn't use the word NFTs, right? Because most people just didn't understand what I was talking about. And I mean, I did, but, you know, a lot of people weren't getting it. And then Beeple's work got released in early, you know, in 2021, and that's when the NFT market really exploded. And I think that I was still very much in this, I would say, this kind of flow, right? And I was really creating because I wanted to create. I wasn't creating because I was like, okay, I want to do this, which will make me this, which will make me X amount of million. Like I
wasn't most of the time you have no idea what you're doing.
And
it's just a matter of flow.
Yes, I wasn't thinking, okay, now, oh my God, NFTs, I'm going to make this much money and I'm going to do like this. Like I still wasn't even thinking even remotely in those places. And then, you know, this opportunity to paint, you know, the mural at the DIFC.
Do you remember exactly, or maybe just as a part of the journey, what was that day or the moment where the event or partnership, I don't know, something like that, that you literally felt that, oh my God, this is going to be huge, like everything exploded and...
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. And there was this exact specific moment. I would say that I had been invited to the DIFC, the Innovation Hub, and there was like a roundtable event. Again, this was really early. It was just like in 2021. You know, there was there was like the Binance, Ripple. You know, there was a bunch. I mean, they're all the big boys. And then it was them, and they'd invited me as an artist to come and speak to them. So it was like 10 people plus myself, and there was the CEO of DIFC was there. So there was like a really you know, an impressive lineup of people, and they were coming to really just hear my perspective, because what about NFTs, because NFTs were really booming, and they were like, they wanted to hear from an artist perspective. So I drive into the innovation hub, and I don't know if you know, there's a parking lot, and I'd been having the idea to paint a mural somewhere, like to just go big. And I drive and I park and I see this big, beautiful wall right in front of me at the DIFC. And I was like, this is where I want to paint the mural. And I go upstairs, and I just was so buzzing with the idea that I started, the minute somebody asked me, how are you? And I was like, I'm really great. Like, I didn't even know the person. I was like, I'm really great. I'm so artistically inspired today. I want to paint a mural at the DIFC on a wall, and I just need to find the CEO of the DIFC. And then literally somebody goes, oh, he's here. Literally, I mean, like when you say the flow just happens. And I pitched the idea to him, and within, and this is what's great about the UAE and Dubai and the DIFC, is just because it's like, it provides an innovative platform. You have an innovative idea, you want to do something different, and you're able to get in front of the right people. And
the playground is just there.
And literally, then the city is your canvas, right? And so, I worked very closely. I created the design, and I had like a week to paint this massive mural, which was 20 meters long by 15 meters high. And, it's called Future NFT Dubai. And I have to give it to, the DIFC at the time, because it was still a very kind of, it was booming, but it was still quite an unknown concept. And I mean, even when we started painting the mural, halfway through, I mean, this is 20 meters long. It's not a small joke. I mean, we had to have big cranes and 2 big cranes, and it was me and my team, and we were doing this, like, we would be painting from 5 p.m. at night to 5 a.m. And this was in September time, so it was hot. So it was like, it would be 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we were sweating in there, painting all night.
I was about to say that probably you did it in the
no, we had to have
time, right?
Yeah, no, we did it only in the nighttime. So we had the thing light up, and then it was painted through, and we had a week. And so even halfway through the week, they were like, "Oh my God, like we had to change a bit of the design." And so it ended up being totally crazy. And what was even crazier was that, and again, this shows the flow, is I think we had to finish the painting maybe like 4 or 5 days before the painting finished. I just had this idea that why don't I add augmented reality to it? Like, I didn't know anything about augmented. I was like, how can we bring this mural to life? How can it tell more of a story? And then again, I don't know how I did it, amongst painting at night, then during the day, finding the right person to help me do the augmented reality. And then when I revealed the artwork, I told nobody that this was going to happen, because I thought it was going to flop on the day. So I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone. I said, it's going to be a surprise. And then when it came, you scan the QR code and the whole wall came out. And it literally is the first augmented reality NFT mural in the world, and one of the world's largest. And I didn't go out of my way to create it like that, but that's what it ended up being.
Indeed, indeed, a powerful moment and a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it was
in your journey.
Yeah, and it just and sometimes I while the journey, and while the journey is continuing, I like to sometimes just go back and try to tap into that organic flow, because as we get more developed in our business and it can be quite overwhelming, we always have to remember to go back to what we said, that don't get caught in the rat race. Go quiet, go still, and follow your flow.
Do you think this is kind of what an artist needs in terms of developing successfully your journey as an NFT artist, right? Is you need an art, or sometimes even one piece, right? To go viral, to go super vertical, right?
Yeah.
And then this one will represent your major pylon. And you can build in top of that, go horizontally, build multiple products around, but that's just your peak at the moment, and you can just use that to to leverage actually your career. It was your case as well, like you did this moment and then you said, okay, I'm going to build around this in a way more, because you
Yeah.
are running an academy, right?
Yes.
You want to have a bigger impact and use all this journey to create
Yeah.
more and more around Amrita, right?
Yeah, no, and again, it's an excellent question. So nobody's really asked me that before because, yeah, I mean, I think that, I do think artists can become famous in lots of different ways, right? As you said, like have one piece that then just goes viral, or, just having, content or they're just known very much for then a genre of work and everything. And I think what happened was for me is around all of that time is that, my concept also, so it was the big impact of having a big mural, but also my sound bites, right? So having created this thing where, you say a word and then it starts to tell a story. And so what I started to do was it wasn't like, again, it was very organic. It was very natural, is that what am I trying to do with my art? Right. And so, and again, it's important as an artist to take a step back and say, if I've been lucky enough to be given a platform, well, what do I want my overall message to be? What do I want my legacy to be? And then I started to kind of work backwards from that. And I think, if you were to ask me, for me, one of my most important, I would say, things that I would like to do, and I'm hoping I'm making a little bit of an impact, is I want to inspire change through art and technology. And when I mean change, is two levels of change. So the first level is, now that I understand, we all don't like change, right? But it's also something it's uncomfortable, but it's so necessary. And, especially change in technology, right? So as we move from Web 1 to Web 2 and the discovery of the internet, we are now very much on a trajectory to Web 3. And learning to adopt new technologies, from everything from AI, metaverse, NFTs, AR, VR, all of these new things that are going to determine how we are going to operate in the future. It's going to fundamentally change the way we live our life, just like how the internet did. So for me, I want to help people inspire change through tech, to inspire change to understand the new tech, but do it in an artistic way, in a way that's almost entertaining and informative. So I call it like art edutainment.
Use technology as a gate and express yourself.
Yes.
Within.
And I use technology as a tool brush. So using things like, augmented reality on a mural or on a piece of art or on a fashion hoodie to showcase that actually in the future, augmented reality is going to become an amazing tool to open up a new digital landscape between your phone and the item, whether it's a piece of art, whether it's a product, whether it's a piece of clothing, is that we're unlocking a lot of new digital landscape and storytelling ability and creativity between an everyday item of your phone and the object that you're looking at. And to try and say, well, this is, or like how I've created things with AI, I've created things in VR. So using the new tech, but to do it in a way that's not so scary, actually feels a little bit magical, that brings back that magic to an adult where they're like, whoa, we haven't seen that before, right?
Well, I'm sure you need skills for that. It's not really something that anyone can see, these kind of things, and that's why you are so successful.
Well, I think, I thank you. That's very kind of you. But I think it's also tapping into the second type of, when I say inspired change through art and technology, it's tapping into a second part, and I think is the most important part for me, is what I'm effectively doing is I'm accessing another dimension. So I'm helping people access a new dimension. And the reason why a new dimension is important is then I want people to be able to take, just like how I've changed from a banker to an artist, that I went inward. I found my voice and I came out and I told my story, and hopefully using that story to inspire others to do the same. And so what I want to do is inspire change from within through art and technology. And so I'm a big believer in personal growth. I believe in investing in my mind, body, and soul. And so that's everything from you exercise your body. It's how do you exercise your mind? And how do you connect, to a higher power? And if we want to use tech as a kind of way to explain that, is that, as I said, we are the original OG AI machines, right? So every word we say to ourselves, everything that we watch, these are all inputs that are going into our head. So you need to be very careful. What is the prompts or images that I'm putting in my head? Because those are the prompts. It's what the images will come out, and that's what will reflect in who I am and how I behave. Because as they said, your words affect your thoughts, affect your actions. And so that kind of aspect is very important. And then the second thing is that, a phone is just a phone, right? I mean, it's only, when does the magic happen? It's when you connect it to the internet, right? And so I don't want to just be a phone walking around. My body, I don't just want to be a body walking around. So how do I connect, whether it's to the energetic universal power or connect to myself? That's when the real power comes out. And just trying to kind of tell that story and use art as a way to help do that.
You mentioned something that I was listening to you, and I you just gave me some powerful trip, right? A mental trip.
Giving you.
Yeah. It's a matter of this stage with data collection, right? When you are just absorbing information visually and all these types of collections, right? But then how much weight do you put behind the interpretation of the data and the level of self-conversation that you have with yourself talking about you, right? Because you see things around you, images, experiences, and then the way how you project those experiences and situations inside, like how to put yourself in front of these situations, right? Like something happened, right? And then you say, oh, I'm not good for this. I'm afraid of this. So you give a totally different interpretation to situations, right?
Yes,
like,
exactly.
How much do you think is like in terms of importance? Because you said you want to inspire by courage, right? To take this chance of change. Do you think people are willing to leave that comfort zone as a banker, right? Maybe you do insanely well in banking, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like financially speaking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why on earth you leave six-figure, I don't know, whatever, and try an artist career?
I think my husband is asking me the same question.
Obviously,
on
now
a daily
I think
basis.
he's congratulating you. But,
Exactly. At the time, it was
but that's not the case. I mean, we need to stay also with in reality, right? Connected, because you are just 0.1% club. Like there are so many artists out there, and we see this all over the world, that artists just expressing their art on the streets for sometimes meals, right?
So I think
beautiful art though.
Yeah,
like,
beautiful.
But that's the life of an artist.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think there's two parts to that. You asked two separate things, and I think both are really important. So I'll answer the first part. So you know how you said, you get all of this amazing information, and how do you then put it in so then the positive message comes out? Because a lot of the time you're like, okay, I'm putting the information, and then maybe I've got my self-talk, and then I start to have my negative self-talk, right? And so this is why my art is a visual depiction of it. And so this is what I try to show, is that when I say a word like, just say happiness, right? Or even let's just say a word, your name. Right? Okay, I'll say mine. So if I say Amrita Sethi, right? So I capture the word in Amrita Sethi. Now, what are the images? Actually, I'll do it for you. Let's say Danny Topala, right? So now, what are the images? If I now said to you, and I was interviewing you, and I said, tell me about your life.
Yes.
Tell me what Danny Topala
Yeah.
Because a
I'll
word
put a sunset,
is worth a
I'll
picture.
put a mountain, I'll put something like,
Exactly.
or either I'll put, I don't know, something in the negative part, right?
No, but
and
you
then
see, no, but you see, exactly. So when you start to imagine things in a image wise, you say to yourself, what words, what images would I put to describe myself and my life, right? And you can do it, either you have images that have described your life before. So we could have one which literally talks about, I grew up here, I did this, I like this, I like that. Or you can say, well, like it's like almost like they say a vision board, but it's more important as what are the images you're putting on. And
so
I
you
think
want to position that individual to start an internal conversation to discover the back end, right?
and exactly, what is the front end? And so then if you start to put like you want to, are you going to put a picture of like, a strong arm, or are you going to put somebody, crying or like stressed or thing? And so the idea is that we are the painters of our lives, right? We are the authors. Every minute of the day, we decide what story we're going to tell. So you just know that at any point in time, you can take a new canvas and you are in control of not only the images that you put in your own mind, you are in control of what you put, the images of how people see you. So now if I say to people, I meet them and I tell them I'm an NFT artist, they're like, yes, great. And I'd love to see it. And they see all my images. If I tell them I used to be a banker, they're like, what? So I have created a whole new canvas for me. And what that gives me is so much freedom, because tomorrow, if I wanted to, I don't know, become a skydiver, I mean, I could just do that, right? Because where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Yes.
And it is up to you to decide what story you're going to tell yourself and the images you're going to, give out, not only to yourself, but to the world. And always know that even if you do make a mess, even if you make a mistake, which we all do, it's okay, because you don't need that image to define you going forward. You can kind of erase that image and put a new one, and so this is what I want people to, that's the inspire
but
new
this is a
storytelling.
very, very deep stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like you are talking now like a mental surgery, right?
Yeah.
You want to be part of exactly that internal conversation at the right spot when say, no, I'm weak, I cannot do this, and you come and say, no, you can do it.
Yes.
You just go follow your heart and you can do it.
Yes, exactly. And why not? And to use art, and because exactly people just see it's my art, but actually there's a depth to it. And I think sometimes, people take art also too seriously. Why does it have to always be like, but actually it can have a fun message. It can be fun. It can look seemingly fun, but actually you peel the layers behind, and actually it's got a very deep message.
Oh, this is the funny part, because then when you show your art to someone who is not connected at all with anything, you say, why that line is like this? Why you put
or just like, okay, so what? Those images are
totally
that
different.
Yeah. And I think that, so then that goes to your second question around, why do some artists make it and some artists don't make it?
Yeah.
And I think that, why does one company make it and not the other? It comes down to being able to really articulate and tell your story, right? Stories make, that's what is the message that you're trying to give out? What are you trying to achieve? And don't get me wrong, I think one of the challenges that I think artists have is that you're an artist, so you're a skilled creator. But then when you become a professional artist, you're in the profession of being an artist. And a lot of the time that equals you being an entrepreneur. Even if you're just an entrepreneur of your little world. Now, how many artists are taught entrepreneurial skills?
Exactly.
How many people know that? Because when you're an artist, all of a sudden, not only do you have to be the creator, you have to either be the seller. Okay, even if you have to find a gallery, you need to sell to the galleries your art to make sure that they
and
go
that's
it
the
on.
moment when
you need to tell the story.
The shit hits the fan. Sorry for that, but there is what it is, the reality. Because then you need to acquire so many other skills, sales and marketing.
Marketing. Then you have to
sell
keep
yourself,
you have to keep your inventory. You have to do operations. Like, luckily, I'm an ex-banker. I know what an Excel spreadsheet looks like. And I'm also a bit tech savvy. I know, some good start, from some of the tech stuff, from Monday.com, whatever the case is, Notion, Miro. You have a lot of these tech tools that you can use, but a lot of artists, they're just not taught that. And so it's not good enough, and then at the same time, the more you do...
Which is normal, right? Because that's why they are artists. They live in the clouds,
Exactly.
They are creative, they think with the right part of the brain 99% of the time. They have no ideas about structuring calls and partnerships and how to close deals and how to sign clients. And this is totally different something else.
And I think this is it. But at the same time, you cannot also just exist in a vacuum, right? So you can't just make your art and then just sit there. And but also, even if you do have somebody you're working with, galleries, then that becomes complicated. And so this is the Web2 world. And then the Web3 world, obviously, is saying, let's get rid of the middleman, and which is great, in that sense that, galleries, because obviously, people say that obviously in the Web2 space, traditional galleries are very much the gatekeepers. They're the ones who decide what the price of art is and who makes it in the right gallery. Obviously, the Web3 fixes a lot of those problems, but then it also creates new problems for the artist, because then you have to be, the sales, the this, the that, the operate, all of that as well. And so what I think I'm trying to, I would say, it's not even like I'm trying, I'm living it. So I want to show artists, and I'm starting to document my journey, actually, behind the scenes, because I want people to see that it's not easy. I know it sounds like I'm sitting here and I'm being interviewed by great people like you, but it's
an overnight success.
It's not exactly. It's just it's overnight. I just woke up I woke up like this, but also going forward is, what does it mean to be an artist in 2024 and beyond?
Successful artist.
A successful artist. Yeah. And how do you then manage this world of Web3 and Web2? Yeah. And how do you manage it because I make physical art, but then I also make digital. And then who is your collector on this side and your collector on that side? And what I want to do is pave a new way for artists to know that, because I think there is going to be a new way. Maybe it's a 2.5, a Web 2.5 way. And I myself come up with so many hurdles if I try to go just purely down the Web 2, and I come down with lots of hurdles if I just purely go down Web 3. So I'm just also trying to do something that's unique to me. And hopefully, I don't know where the path is going to take me, but I feel that if I trust in what has been given to me in the universe, that actually not only will I make my path, but maybe I'll also allow other people to help follow in those footsteps. But I don't know, because it's not over, so we'll see.
Absolutely. It's never over. There is no end.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let me ask you something. The moment you realize that, you have this banking background, and maybe it was a little bit easier for you to arrange all the roadmap, right? I need this, 1, 2, 3. But the moment you leave this room as an artist, right, and you start arranging calls, talking with the galleries, and all this task management, right? Don't you feel that you are going to lose a little bit from the creativity? Because when you create, right, as an artist, you need to, it's not like one time, you can have this kind of like sparks kind of stuff that gives you, I need to paint murals, or, like super vertical stuff. But those kind of things are coming into momentum, right?
Yes.
You stay there, you think about that creativity mood, right? And then suddenly your brain accesses a certain level of creativity and gives you this kind of things, right?
I think.
Don't you think you are going to? It's a hard negotiation there. Like you go in the left world to arrange all these things, but actually you leave exactly who you want to be.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think the answer to that is to understand that as human beings, we're a bit of everything, right? And I think we are also very quick sometimes to try to define, I am this, I am that. So if I am this, I have to do this and I have to do that. The reality is we are multitaskers. We are as human beings. And the more we fully understand that, the better we are and the kinder we are to each other, to oneself. No, not to each other, but yeah, also to oneself. And then if you have empathy for yourself, then you have empathy for others, right? So it kind of is a network effect. You know, the good thing is for somebody, I'm somebody that like if I like to learn, right? So for me, what I've realized is having a good structure and a good strategy in place is very important, just like you would do in any business. Be like, you know, what is it that how do I, where am I going now? And B, you know, at least put a structure around it. So that inside, I call it then organized, fun, and chaos. So then in that time and structure, that's for me to be as creative as I want.
Do you believe in these big steps ahead? Like, I want to become world's #1, like super huge stuff, or like, no, let me finish this NFT first.
I think you have to.
See.
No, I think you have to have. As again, when you're organizing, you know, and it's not just with business, with everything in life. Like, you know, you have a quarterly goal, a 1-year goal, a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal, a 25-year goal. I think sometimes it is important, just like you take the time out to be creative. I think that it's very important to take the time out to at least put, you know, something in your GPS, right? Like, what is kind of my location? Yeah, maybe I might go here or there. You know, but ultimately my location's not going to change, right? And so I do think, and I think that's what I'm doing much better, is just taking a step back and saying, what does Amrita want to create? You know, as in overall, because it also is a balance of work, life as well. And so where is it that I want to put my focus? Where do I want to put my energy? And then that allows me to create a structure and a system where then I say, okay, in this time, this is just for creation. And I'm a big believer. I always take a creative retreat once a year. On top of I mean, it's not like I only create in that retreat, but that is the time where I'm allowed to be as inspired and as I want. And I find that when I come back from those, that then sets me up for the, you know, the creation.
Micro steps.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you think like you just project the end result? Right?
Yeah.
Kind of the big picture. You see exactly the location, like in the new version of Amrita.
Exactly.
It's just in there, the journey doesn't matter how you go there. Okay, can I go a little bit left? Can I go right? No problem, as long as I'm going towards the same,
100%. Like,
objective.
I mean, you when because the thing is, like, if you got in your car and just started driving, you're just driving, you don't know where, like, but like, you know, if you get in your car and, you know, if you put in a GPS, say like, this is my location, fine, you're driving, okay, might be some traffic on Sheikh Zayed Road. You divert, you go here, you go there, but the place doesn't change. But I mean, ultimately, you don't need to be also so specific. I mean, like, you know, these things, but, you know, it could just, at the end of the day, just having an idea of where you're going. And I think sometimes people just are like, I just want to do, like, and then they hear about that thing and then they get FOMO and then they start running over here. And the Web3 space is so big on FOMO,
to get
distracted, to be like, okay, I'm going to go here, then I'm going to go there, then I'm going to go here. But like, how is that helping you? And I think I've learned that lesson that people can pull me in their direction because it suits them. But how is this suiting me, right? Like, where does this, and that's not to say become selfish, that's just to say, you know, make sure you put your oxygen mask on first, and only if you achieve, then you can achieve more and you can help others, right? And so that's kind of, I think, some of my kind of learnings, I would say, from this journey. But
obviously the moment you try to please everyone is it's not a happy end for you.
Yeah, exactly. It goes back into what are the image that you're creating. This is a little bit deep, but I think either yourself or whoever's listening, it may resonate with some people. And those are the people that, you know, who are connected, who understand. Is that
today we are in the world of artists. So
yes, you can. I can take you to different dimensions.
Yes, please.
So. But at the same time, my art is also always based with some sort of some tech or some theory to it. But you have the concept of, the quantum theory of, where you have, I don't know if you know about that, but we exist in waves. So the whole universe is, it's just waves of opportunity or waves of possibility, right? But only by observing, when you observe an atom, does it become into place. It's just like the split atom theory. Again, if, I'm probably not the best scientist to explain it. But the point that it's saying is that, like, even now, even for the rest of today, there's so many waves of opportunity or sliding doors of what can actually happen. But it's only by observing an atom does it then become into play. So when you start to think about the future or anything, is what is the image that you are observing of the future self or your future outcome? Are you worrying that, oh, this is going to happen and that's not going to happen, or what? So you're observing it, right? You observe, and that atom. So this is why when they say, a lot of these woo-woo people who call woo-woo, I'm one of, but like people say, oh, their person believes in manifestation and, visualization, because there's actually a scientific concept behind it that you are visualizing. And it's, why not visualize a positive outcome, right? Why not? But our minds we are human beings. We don't like uncertainty. So it goes back to then helping you put an image to it. And that's where art is important, because you literally have a physical image and say, what is it? How am I going to define who I am? What is my future outcome? And then also to know that, to not worry so much about the future, because if you just focus on that present and you allow your flow to happen, then the right thing will happen. And it's something we all struggle with. I struggle with all the time, but I try to always go back to that. It's like, what am I observing in the future?
Well, I think it's very simple. I think because absolutely everything what exists in the reality has been created in the imagination first.
Completely.
There is no other way around. Someone had to think, to imagine first, not even think. To imagine.
Yeah.
I'm imagining this, whatever, microphone, table. And then it was, at one point, it makes sense in the reality.
Yeah, because where your focus goes, your energy flows. Yeah. And I'll never forget, I mean, I do a lot of personal growth. I work very much on myself. I very much believe in mentors or advisors. I'm somebody who I admit I always love to go to therapy, because it's just like you go for your mind, your body, and your soul. You're just doing the same thing. And I wrote, like, back in, 2016, when I was a banker, I actually, I write these big goals, like, that are just so, like, you think, oh my God. And at that time, I wrote to be a world famous artist. I still have the piece of paper. I wrote 3 other goals there.
How cool is that?
And this was when I was a banker, didn't even think about leaving my work. So, you know what I mean? And so this is why they do say so. And that's why with my voice note art or my sound bites, it's just like, and this is also where AI is coming to place. And this is why, I also created an AI collection, is that the images that the words you put out affect the images. And those images can have a really impact on who you become as a person.
I think this is the most powerful fulfillment, isn't it? Like, the moment you see people around you and you have that little wave, right, in their lives to create actually the change. Is just beyond everything, right?
Completely.
Can I call you an interior designer?
Yeah, I like that. Oh, yes. An interior designer.
Yeah.
I like that.
It looks like you like to zoom in in the people's lives, in the people's minds, and arrange a little bit things.
Yeah, and actually do and make it beautiful.
Yes.
And make it a lovely place to live. Yes. Make your mind and your body great, like an interior. I like that.
Yeah. You jump in and say, let's move this sofa here. Let's put this TV here.
And you just change your perspective here.
I'll buy a new lamp here.
Yes.
And voila, now you have a different lounge.
And just because I love this, the creativity is coming up from my thing, is just like, the other lesson I learned recently on a creative retreat I went on is that we live so much in our heads. And the place to live is in our hearts. And it's cheesy, and you say, or whatever the case is. And I'm somebody who, I'm hard because, I'm still a bit right-brained and a left-brained. And I would say I wasn't always like this, now I hug trees before I would not hug a tree. I also have gone through a bit of a change in how I see the world. And so one of the biggest learnings that I learned was that get out of your head and live in your heart space. And so I would say, let's put interior design, but move the main bedroom, the main room from your head to your heart. Because a lot of the reason why we are scared to leave, to live in our heart, is because we're scared to move from our brain, because we think our head is in control, right? Because if we if we move away from our brains, our heads, our minds, then, that exposes us. We're no longer in control. But actually, there's this part of your head and there's this much of your body. So it's more powerful to live in your body. But we're living all of our head in our head space.
I will say, though, to leave a channel to the brain.
No, don't worry. We're not going to completely forget about it. Nobody's going to cut it off. But you think about it, it's like you're going into a house, because I like your interior designer concept now. So you walk in this big, beautiful home, and you're like, where is everyone? The whole body, you're like, where is everyone? And then you realize everyone's just hanging out in this little part of the house.
The entire palace, they live in
they're like
one
a little room.
At the
and
fifth
it's
floor.
actually hot, it's stressful. It's like there's too many controls in the room, because that's where the control center is, because the brain is working. You're like, why are you living in there? You realize you got this whole house. And I think if you can just still move, you can still leave the controls in that room, but go and live a beautiful life, meaningful, more powerful life in the rest of the house. Beautiful. I like that. We got something going here.
Awesome. I'm happy to contribute
add to the creative discussion.
Yes. Coming back to the studio, guys.
Exactly. I know
we are doing a podcast here. If you haven't noticed yet, Amrita, you are such a beautiful human, inside, outside, and thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a lot of things to cover and to discover in your beautiful journey. We'll keep it open for the next time.
Yes.
I appreciate your presence here, and I would like to see you soon again.
No, thank you so much. And I hope I've inspired any movement from the head to the heart. And I like your new description of me, interior designer.
Oh, I'm happy for that.
Thank you so
very
much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please drop us a comment. Consider to subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on major platforms as Iron Capital News. And I will be super grateful if you can just press that like button and help us to increase the visibility of such a beautiful artists and put their name out there. Thank you very much again for watching, and see you on the next one.